Hello, digital imaging, and this is the pattern project. So to begin, you are in Photopea. You're going to click on new project or file new, either or works. Once you click here, go ahead and name this pattern project. And then, as always, I work in inches. Let's go with 10 inches by 10 and make sure your DPI is at 300 so you could get nice resolution. Background can be at white, and I'm going to hit create. So here is my white background, 10 by 10, nice square. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer. In this layer, I'm going to start thinking about what I want my theme of my pattern to be. So one of the things that I might want to draw, I'm going to use an ellipse. I'm going to make a nice circle like so. And I'm going to, just for now, using the paint bucket, I'm going to color it in. So you guys can draw whatever you want. I'm just doing a really fast example. Color that in. All right, then I'm going to take my ellipse tool again. This time I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And now I'm going to hit delete. All right, so now I got a nice little moon. Control D to deselect. So I've got a nice little moon going. And maybe I want to play around with it a little bit. And I want to use my brush tool. It's on 100 for hardness, and I'm just going to control the size a little bit. I'm going to go a little bit darker. Once again, going really slow with this. I'm going to make a little eye here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Little eyelashes. I'm going to use my eyedropper to get this blue color again, and maybe I want to use a polygonal lasso. And I want to color that in with that blue, make a little nose here. I'm just playing around right now. Control D to deselect. And maybe I want to do like a nice little pink color. Ooh, that's dark. Grab that pink color. There we go. I want to put a little blush. There we go. It looks really cute. And draw whatever you like. I know in class I showed, different examples. This too is way too small. Let's bring it up in size. All right, there we go. We want to be able to see it. So you guys are going to do a much nicer, cleaner job than this, of course, because this is terrible. This is really fast. But whatever, at least I have something to play around with. So I'm going to, maybe rotate this. Maybe I'm going to resize it. Hold down Shift if you want to make it a static size. So I've got my moon. Looks good. I'm going to hit Enter. You can also use your custom shape tool if you want to. I would prefer it if you guys used your own, you created your own, but if you need to, they are here for you. And I'll show you again how I found that, but I'm going to look for a little star right now. There's already a moon in here, which is also really nice and convenient. But I'm going to grab the star, and I'm just going to make a nice little star. Now, it's in a new layer, thank goodness, because it was set on shape. I want you guys to do it in pixels. So make sure that you do it in pixels. If you have it on shape, it's very easy. Just right-click and rasterize that image. And that way you are able to, move it around. There we go. We got a little star right here. I'm going to hit Enter. Then I'm going to go back into shape, custom shape, and I'm going to make another one. and another one. Okay, so I got this nice little moon with some nice little stars. Obviously, I don't want to make the stars black and red. I want to make them a nice yellow. So I'm going to color that in. All right, that looks good. I think this looks really sweet. So now I have my image. I'm going to merge down so this becomes one and I can move this around together. I made my drawing. So this is going to be the hardest part of this entire project is creating a drawing of something that you like. Now comes the fun part. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy my shape layer by dragging it into the little layer tab. You should have a shape one copy pop up like so. It's going to say copy. The original one right underneath, I'm going to turn it off. This, I'm actually going to double click and rename it insurance. Insurance is in case we made a mistake or we don't like how our whole pattern looks like. The insurance is always there in case we need it. Now I'm going to take this one, can move it to the side, and I'm going to copy it again. And now when I move it aside, I have identical copies. So that's really fun. It looks good. But I want to play around with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this. I'm going to image, transform, and I'm going to rotate it 180 degrees, which means it's completely rotated. Now, I don't know why it did that. Come on, you are selected. Let's try that again. Edit, transform, rotate 180. Okay, there we go. I accidentally clicked on image and not the other one. So I now rotated this and I can kind of play around with it the way I want it to look like in my composition. So maybe I want them like this. Yeah, that's not too shabby. Maybe I want it perfectly distanced. This is where you get to really have fun with what you want your composition to look like. So maybe I want it like right up there, like so. Okay, I actually don't mind this at all. This looks pretty good. I'm gonna right click on it, and I'm going to merge down. So now these two become one layer. You could see they've become one layer. I'm gonna resize this. I'm gonna hold it, holding shift so that it stays static, and now I can resize. So I have these two together. So once again, enter once you're done resizing. Now I'm gonna drag this again into the layer and it's gonna make another copy. So when I move that top one, it's selected both of them. Make sure you only have one selected from your layers. When you move it, it will pop out like so. Now I could keep going like this. I could keep making my layers, but I feel like this needs a little bit more interest. So maybe I'm gonna rotate it, play around with it, see what looks good. Let's see what looks good. Maybe this looks good. I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna have it like so. Or down here. I think this might look nice. Okay, that looks not too bad. Okay, so I'm gonna keep this. I'm gonna merge down again. So now these become one. And now same thing as before, drag it into layers, make a copy. And now you got the other one. And so now you get to kind of play with these and go off into your pattern. So this pattern is actually going to look like this. You want it to be pretty even. So I'm going to put it up here because once you merge it, if it's not even, it's going to stay that way. So you got to kind of eyeball it and make sure it's nice and even. This looks, there we go, pretty straight. I think that looks pretty good. That looks nice and straight. Excellent. So I'm going to go ahead and merge down one more time. Give it a second. Excellent. So now you have this whole strip. That is one line. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to grab it. And now we've got the next strip. get to play around with this. So maybe these are going to be kind of like so on this side. All right, that looks pretty good. Merge down. This becomes one. So once again, I have a very simple design. You guys should be making something way more intricate for me. I just don't want to sit here for an hour drawing something way too crazy. I'm going to try to match this one to the line before it in terms of spacing. Okay, that doesn't look too terrible. It selected both of them. Make sure you only have one layer selected when you move it. Come on, stop that. Let's not do auto select. It's selecting it. All right, I am now eyeballing it, making sure that it is evenly spaced, just like before. Okay, that looks about right. Okay, now I'm gonna right click on the layer, merge down. This becomes one layer again. So sometimes if you merge too many of them, then it becomes a little bit more difficult to move them around. So as you guys could see, it kind of cut it off now on the side. So I have to be careful about how I do this. So I'm actually gonna undo merging it. That way I can just move around the smaller shapes as I am creating it. It's taken a second, so please be patient. This is being difficult right now. Control Z, come on. There we go. Okay, so it undid it. So I'm going to take this one and I'm going to copy it again. It should open it up. All right, computer is being slow again. So basically what you are doing is you're creating more and more layers and you're setting this up so that it creates a nice even spaced pattern for you. So I showed these examples in class. I'm going to show them again. You want to have a nice design and you want everything to be evenly spaced. Have it go off the paper. It makes it more interesting. So if you have any gaps, you want to fill it in. So like over here, there's still gaps on this project. So this is not quite finished. Also, resizing your images, having some smaller, having some bigger will create a much more interesting composition. So make sure that you are playing around with the transform tool and you're able to resize everything. Not having even spaces will ruin your composition. So really be careful about how you space out your images. So this one is an excellent example. I mean, it's even on all sides. It's really nice and clean. There's really beautiful elements. This student took a lot of time on her image and it looks great. So yeah, take your time and you will have a better project. You guys will have an entire week on it. There must be pattern. This does not qualify as pattern. Okay. So resize, give me nice elements, have it moving around, make sure that you have even spacing. Back to the background. So I can continue working on this. This is being very slow right now. Photopea it's crashing on me. This has been a long day. So one of the things I want to show you is how to change the background. So like, let's say I have a really clean design. Everything is filled in, the moons and stars, everything looks beautiful. All is well. I'm going to create a layer underneath. This is going to be at the very bottom, underneath all my shapes. And this layer is the one that I'm going to be coloring in. So now I get to kind of choose what I want my background to be. So like, let's say I want to do a nice dark background. I choose my color. I'm going to take my paint bucket and all you're going to do is click and it should fill in the entire background with whatever color you chose. You guys see that? It's underneath. It is underneath all your other layers, but it is on top of your background layer. If I turn it off, it's back to white. So this layer, change the color. You could play around with it. Here we have our gradient tool. So, this goes dark to light right now. It's the very first one. That's kind of cool. Linear, let's say I put it on radial. I'm going to click and drag, and it's going to give me, oh, this nice little gradient. Let's say I want to make it a little bit more to the side. I click from out here, or I click directly in the middle and I really drag it as far as I can go. It will make a much wider gradient and it will just be slightly darker. So you get to kind of really play around with what you want your gradients to look like. And you have so many options. There's rainbows in here. You could do stripes. We all learned that one. There's, you could change the colors on these when you click on them. And yeah, play around with the background. You don't have to do a gradient. You could just do a solid background color if you want to. And if you don't like it, click it off, make a new layer. There we go, make a new layer, and you can just paint bucket it whatever color you want. Remember, everything in Photopea and Photoshop you can undo. So you could have a solid color, you could have a gradient, make sure you have even spaces, and remember, when you finish, save it. There's two different ways. One is to publish it as a PSD so you could get the actual link to post into Google Classroom. And then the other one is make sure that you export it as a JPEG, which will flatten the image, and you can post the JPEG along with your PSD URL into Google Classroom. And that is it. Thank you for watching.